Hello, I'm Armin Budish. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, does someone you love have Alzheimer's? We'll relate tips to increase communication. Then, the best offense is a good defense. We've got the plays to score a winning financial strategy. We've got the lowdown on why back pain is on the rise and what you can do to avoid it. And do's and don'ts when you inherit an IRA.
It's time to get GOing, so pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. Alzheimer's is a heartbreaking disease, and many times the heart that's breaking is the caregiver's. You want to connect with your spouse or your parent, but they don't relate to you like they used to. So what can you do? Mary Lambert has some great suggestions. Mary's the Education and Outreach Manager for the Greater Cleveland chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. Good to see you again, Mary.
Thanks. Nice to see you.
Mary, it can really be very upsetting and frustrating when a spouse or your parent with Alzheimer's is trying to get an idea across but can't. What are some of the ways their communication changes?
Well, because of the changes that are going on in the brain, they have many challenges with communicating. For example, they might have difficulty finding the right words, or often repeating the same word over and over again, and sometimes they even make up words. Easily lose their train of thought, so they get distracted very easily. Difficulty organizing their thoughts and organizing their words logically so they make sense to people.
So Mary, what can we do? Do we just sit there and listen, or is there something else we should do?
We'll definitely sit there and listen and let them know that you're interested. Everybody wants that. But also be patient, because it does take people with dementia longer to say things, so
Should we jump in and finish their sentences, or should we wait?
If you can see that they're trying to find a word, absolutely try and fill in the blanks to keep the conversation flowing.
Okay. After we listen, how do we talk to them? Is there a difference in the way we should talk to someone with Alzheimer's?
There really is a difference. It's sort of a skill that you have to develop. So, for example, if you know the person you're talking to might be forgetting your name, identify yourself. Let them know your name. Use short,
They
simple.
won't take that as demeaning, or we should go ahead and do that.
As long as you think they're not going to remember your name. Give them, it's like giving them a break, because they're going to want to try and remember your name. So help them out.
Okay.
Use short, simple sentences. Word to really remember is simplify. Anything you can simplify. Ask one question at a time. Give one direction at a time. So break your sentences down into short, simple sentences. And always be reassuring. That's probably through caring for somebody as well as communicating with somebody. Reassure them all the time.
Are there certain phrases that you can give us to use that would be helpful?
For example, if somebody's obviously becoming anxious or nervous or agitated, reassure them and say, I think maybe you're thinking about that time you were in a car accident, for example. I can tell you're angry. I'd be angry too. So you're reassuring them and trying to get their thoughts, repeating their thoughts to make sure you're getting the correct message.
What about redirecting them? So they're trying, they're having a lot of trouble. Should you change the subject, say, look at how nice it is outside, or something like that? Does that help?
Right, absolutely. It helps calm them down. If you can think of something like they like to do, like maybe go for a walk, so you redirect them, ask them to go for a walk if they want to go outside, if they want to listen to music. Music's a great thing to kind of make people happy again.
And somebody who has memory of long ago, should you remind them about things, talk about
or go
the past?
there with them? Yeah, that's one of the favorite activities, is reminiscing. Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you, Mary. This is very helpful. It's always a difficult struggle to deal with, and very painful. Thanks.
It is. Thank you again for the opportunity.
My thanks to Mary and the Alzheimer's Association for communicating helpful communication skills today. And be sure to check out our community calendar for information on how you can support them.
To learn more, call the Cleveland area chapter of the Alzheimer's Association at 216-721-8457 or log on to www.alz.org/Cleveland. Next, we huddle to plan the best financial plays. But first, jazz great Dizzy Gillespie put a new riff on The Sound of Music by turning the bell of his trumpet skyward. Why did Dizzy do it? We'll raise your awareness when we return.
Welcome to Breckenridge Village, a continuing care retirement community conveniently located in historic Willoughby, Ohio. Whether it's a luxury apartment, a spacious ranch home, or newly built brownstones, it's all here with the added security of knowing more care is available when you need it. Breckenridge Village offers an exciting and upbeat lifestyle, and the food is fabulous, and our staff makes you their #1 priority. Learn more about Breckenridge Village and come see our new Veal Wellness and Aquatic Center.
Dizzy Gillespie discovered his trumpet sounded sweeter after someone fell on it and bent the bell. So Dizzy turned a sour moment into sweet success. He used the design to develop his own trumpet style with an upturned bell. It was music to his and our ears.
Here's the score. Your financial defense is to be at the top of its game when you're playing against a tough economic time. Need some strategies from a winning playbook? We've got them. Jim Lineweaver's here to be our defensive coordinator. Jim's a certified financial planner with the Lineweaver Financial Group. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
My pleasure.
Jim, so before the play-by-play, tell us why a good defense is the best offense when it comes to investments.
Well, for one thing, what you got to remember is that you're here for the whole season. You're not just here for one game. So people often get their emotions too involved in their portfolios and things, and you really got to come up with some very strict disciplines in order to make sure you can get through some of these turbulent times without getting emotions involved and making some mistakes in your portfolio.
And so why defense? I mean, why not move on to the offense?
Well, it's always good to make profits, but you don't want to lose everything you made either. So a defense is going to help buffer those losses in bad times or turbulent times.
What do we do?
Well, for one thing, make sure you're well diversified. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. You know, people in the latter part of the 90s and 2000s stuff got into too much technology and really was trying to run with a big wave and end up burning them. So make sure you're well diversified into a lot of different industries and also maybe have some bonds and cash and other instruments in there as well.
When you say diversified, is it different industries, or do we also have different kinds of investments? I mean, what, different companies within an industry? What does it mean?
Yeah, not necessarily just in one industry. Like, you just don't want to be in the financial services industry, because a lot of times there's a herd mentality, and when one goes down, they can all go down. So you're going to want to pick from, you know, oil and gas and natural resources and, you know, industry and financials and technology. So that's diversification. You're in a lot of different areas, so you don't have all your eggs in one basket.
What else? What else should we do so we don't give up ground?
Well, what you want to do in defensive play, another defensive play, is actually in a turbulent market like this, you can buy things that everybody has to use on a daily basis. So it can be like food and you know, toothpaste and things along that nature. Oil and gas, you know, we're going to be dependent on that for our lifetimes. And a lot of times they pay very good dividends. So you can actually, during turbulent times, get paid in the 4, 5, 6% range that you can't get in savings or money market accounts, and yet over time have some good appreciation to it as well.
Okay, and another one of your tips, avoid selling at bad times. What's that?
Yeah, what you want to make sure you do is don't sell, you know, maybe if the market's down a couple hundred points. You need to make sure you have an emergency fund, you know, 3 to 6 months of cash sitting in the bank or a CD or something along that nature that you can fall back on, because if you really needed the money in the next couple of weeks, it should never be in the stock market.
Another tip, invest for high dividends.
Yes. What ends up happening is there's a lot of good things that can actually buffer what's going on in the volatility of the market. So there is a huge tax advantage right now still in this year for dividends that are taxed at a lower capital gain rate than your personal income rate. So you can have dividends that you can either take and spend, and it's at a very low tax rate, or you could reinvest to buy more shares, and you can build great wealth over time.
And there are certain companies, types of companies, that are defensive as opposed to offensive companies.
There are.
Tell us about those.
Yeah, we did highlight some of those just a few minutes ago. But anything that are good staples that you're going to use on a daily basis. So, I mean, even the clothing on your back and,
things
the food that we
people are
talked
always
about.
going to need.
Yeah, no matter good economy or bad economy, you got to go out there and get them every day of the week.
Okay, and finally, is there one big guaranteed winner we should all be putting our money in?
No, not necessarily. What ends up happening is there are some insurance companies out there and annuities that have some guarantees, but overall, just try to stick to our fundamentals that we talked about. Diversify, have a good emergency reserve, and make sure that you're getting your emotions out of your portfolio.
Great. And talk to a good financial advisor.
Exactly. Top of the list.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. Follow Coach Jim Lineweaver's winning strategy, and you'll find defense is the best offense. Anytime you put your investments into play, you need to keep defense in mind. To find out more, give Jim a call. His number's next.
To find out more, call the Lineweaver Financial Group at 1-888-313-4009 or log on to www.lineweaver.net. Next, how the rise in back pain is giving us all a pain in the neck. Looking for places to go, things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. You now have 2 opportunities to step out and help defeat one devastating disease. Lace up your sneakers and walk to end Alzheimer's. On Saturday, September 17th, Lorain County Community College is the place to set your pace. Or take off from Tower City Center, Saturday, September 25th. To get off on the right foot, march to the phone and call the Cleveland chapter of the Alzheimer's Association at 216-231-1466. Or let your fingers do the walking to visit their website, www.alz.org/Cleveland.
Have you noticed that more and more people are complaining about their aching backs? That's because low back pain is on the rise. But why? To get to the bottom of this issue, we went to the top, to Dr. Noel Abood. Dr. Abood's with the Solon Spine and Wellness Center. Thanks for joining us. So how do we know that there's been a rise in lower back pain?
Well, the study that I was just mentioning to you earlier was in North Carolina, and it was done over from 1992 to 2006. The rate of back pain, the incidence of back pain, doubled over that time frame.
Wow. And you've been telling me off the air that when more and more people experience back pain, that actually hurts many of us who have nothing to do with back pain.
Right.
Why
I mean,
is
think
that?
of the medical care. We're all sharing in the costs of premiums for medical attention that doctors need, or social for the Medicare system. And the more people that hurt their back, the more that you and I, the average person, are paying into that. So we all suffer as a community,
And also, I assume, people miss work or, are out of circulation. That hurts the economy too.
Right. The number one cause of missed work is low back pain, and that's been consistent since the 1980s, I believe.
Why? Why has this become worse?
Why is it worse? And the study went on to describe reasons as to why, but most of the speculation is that we feel that we have deconditioned muscles, meaning we're not exercising as much as we used to. We're not. Think about it. I mean, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, a lot more walking was done, a lot more just walking to the store. Now we're so mechanical, and even the children, the obesity rate is raising because they're not exercising, they're not playing in the streets, they're at home on the video games, and it's a pattern that is startling.
When I was a kid, we had to walk, 10 miles to and from school, uphill both ways. So
I must have lived on the same street as you.
All right, so the answer to this, how do we stop this increase in back pain? And let me guess. Diet and exercise.
You got it. I think that's probably, at least that's something that we can control. We don't have all the answers, but I know that if you just can't debate that. That's hardcore facts. If you get out and exercise 20, 30 minutes a day, I don't care if it's a walk, if it's swimming, biking, whatever, and then just control the intake of food that you're taking in. Don't take in more calories than you're burning off every day.
All right, so it's so important. We've said it on the show before, but let's say that you already have back pain. It's, you know, you're beyond, you know, where you can prevent it. What do you do then?
Because there are options. There's options of surgery for the chronic, you know, stenosis or lumbar disc rupture, but maybe that's not always the best option. And that's where our office specializes in non-surgical lumbar decompression. And as the name says, it's without surgery, and it's a specialized table, and it creates a weightlessness in your back, and it draws blood into the injured disc, and once blood gets in there, it brings oxygen with it. And oxygen acts like a healer, almost like putting yeast in flour. You can see the flour, the bread raise. When we get blood in there, that disc can start healing itself.
And you've talked about this, and we've heard from viewers that have used this successfully, but I have gotten questions from other people that say, once you're off the table, do you just go back to where you started?
Well, no, and so many of our patients ask that, but think about it. If you break your fingernail and you grow a new one, why would you assume that you would break it again? And if we're truly healing that disc, the incidence is much less. In fact, the research says there's only 10% relapse.
Great. Well,
Yes.
always good information, Dr. Booth. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. So this is one of those cases where less is more. Less pain, more movement. If back pain is more or less keeping you from enjoying your own life, give Dr. Abboud a call. His number's up next.
For more information, call the Solon Spine and Wellness Center at 440-248-5070 or click to www.solonbackpain.com. It's time to get up and go. An exercise minute on golden opportunities.
Hello everybody, my name is Mike Carbon from Breakout Fitness, and today we are going to do bicep curls to work the biceps on the front of our arms. This is a great exercise because it's going to give us nice strong arms, which will help us pick up boxes and heavy objects a little easier. All right, we got our exercise bands today. We are going to place the exercise band directly below our feet. We want our hips and our knees at about a 90-degree angle. We're going to keep our posture and slowly curl our fists up, pointing our palms towards the ceiling, and come right back down. Slow and controlled movements. Remember to breathe. How's that feel, Armand?
Oh, it feels good. I think mine's a little shorter than yours. Doesn't
Full
get up
range of
as high.
motion, buddy. All the way up, all the way down. 12 to 15 repetitions, 2 to 3 times a week. And now it's your turn to get up and go.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, please send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 23240 Chagrin Boulevard, Suite 450, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122.
You don't have to be crazy to work in newspaper and television, but I think our next guest will agree. It doesn't hurt. Dan Coughlin spent 45 years in this business. That means 45 years worth of great stories to tell. Lucky for us, he's put them all in a book, Crazy with the Papers to Prove It. Stories about the most unusual, eccentric, and outlandish people I've known in 4 decades as a sports journalist. And Dan is here today to talk to us. Thank you so much, Dan.
Armand, thanks for having me. Those were good times back then. My plain dealer days, 1964 to 82. It was like going to Cedar Point. The characters going through the offices all the time. Yeah.
And our viewers all know you as a personal friend. You came into their home for years on
that's
television,
right. Yeah,
too.
right.
So
Yeah.
We first read the title, Crazy with the Papers to Prove It. It sounds a little bit like you're saying you were crazy, but that's not what you're saying.
No, in fact, that's the reason that my wife did not like the title. She thought people are going to think that you were the nut. And no, I knew so many. I wrote stories about these people, and people always said, you ought to write a book about them. And so I did.
Well, I want you to talk just about a couple of these.
Okay.
Let's start with the one about you and Junior O'Malley.
Chapter 1.
What is that? Tell us that.
Was the most degenerate gambler you have ever. There he is, a picture of him at Thistledown. He was a totally degenerate horse player. And I met him, one of the first people I met at the Plain Dealer when I started there.
You've never made a wager.
Oh, didn't I? I haven't had a winner in years. I made a wager, though? Oh, I have. In fact, the first time Junior took me out to Thistledown. He was a printer at the Plain Dealer, had
Really?
a fine union job. And then, when Thistledown opened in the spring, he took a leave of absence from the plain dealer to work as a mutual clerk at Thistledown for half the pay. Well, it didn't matter because it all wound up back in the betting on the horses. But the first time he took me out to Thistledown and he marked my program. He picked the winner in every race.
Wow.
And when the day was over, I looked and I didn't have a winner. And he said, "Do you know how hard that is?"
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Stella Walsh.
Stella.
Tell us about
oh my
that.
God, Stella. You know, Stella was called the greatest woman athlete of the first half of the 20th century.
Right.
And she won Olympic gold medals in London. And anyway, she was always in and out of the plain dealer, promoting her girls' softball teams, track teams, basketball teams. She was twice my age. Had this wild platinum wig and big bones in her face, big, strong woman, and she took a liking to me. She always had to grab me and kiss me.
And you raced her.
She always wanted to race.
Yeah.
So, okay, finally, she was nagging, so I said, okay, I'll race you. Cuyahoga Heights track, she got her girls' track team out there, starting block, starting gun, stopwatches, holding the tape at the end, and she said, I'll give you a 10-yard head start. So, by the way, she was, this is 1967. I was like 27. She was 54. She was twice my age.
And how much did you beat her
And so I held her off. She gave me a 10-yard head start, and I did one. I held her off by one step.
Wow.
And she said, now you've qualified for the finals. Oh, no. And she said, this time we'll race even. So, cigarette break. Have a Pell-Mell, grind it out down on the cinder track. Off we go, and all I see are her flying feet
Dust.
and the cinders flying up in my face. Then she takes me to Stan Orzek's saloon, and she drank me under the table at 11 o'clock in the morning. Double humiliation.
One more.
Years go by.
Oh, okay.
She got shot accidentally in a holdup.
Oh, no.
And the coroner did an autopsy on her. And they discovered that she had both male and female equipment. She was a hermaphrodite.
Wow.
And I was vindicated. It meant that I didn't lose to a woman, I lost to a man and a woman.
Do
we have time for one more?
One more. Let's do one more. When you tried out for
the Parma football team.
at age 28.
Yes. Hal Lebovitz's idea. George Plimpton had written a book, Paper Lion.
Right.
And so Hal said, why don't we localize it here, do it with the Browns? No, let's do it with a high school team. I was a young-looking guy, and so we picked a school where I didn't think anybody would know me, Parma High School. And so the last thing I said to Walter Coulon, the bartender at Pat Joyce's the night before practice started was, I hope I don't hurt any of those kids. I'd hate to ruin Brian Burke's season. Brian was the football coach. I went through 4 days of hell. But believe it or not, that's what people still remember after all these years.
Did you hurt anybody?
No,
Just yourself.
just myself. Bruised my ego. Hurt one of those kids. They darn near killed me. Hardest
great.
assignment I ever had, but people loved it back in those days. There's a chapter on that.
As you can tell, Dan is a great storyteller. Dick Goddard says that's why everyone wants to sit next to him at the bar. Since you may not get that chance, pick up Dan's book, Crazy with the Papers to Prove It. You'll get all the great stories without the hangover. To find out more about the book and where you can buy it, call Gray & Company 800-708-2819 or go to their website, www.grayco.com. My thanks to Dan for coming in today. Great.
Armin, thanks for having me.
Next, avoid costly mistakes when you inherit an IRA.
We're Gateway Title, keeping life simple. We can make it simple. We've got everything you need. See how easy selling your home can be. We're Gateway Title. We're keeping life simple.
It's great to inherit an IRA, but there are plenty of tax traps that can cost you dearly. Here to help you make the most of your IRA inheritance is my law partner, Mike Solomon. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Hi, Armin.
Mike, so what's so hard about inheriting an IRA?
Well, you know, the problem is if you don't do the right thing, you can end up paying thousands of dollars of extra taxes for no good reason.
What is the right thing?
Well, first of all, you ought to, if you inherit an IRA, contact the custodian of the IRA. It's usually a bank or a brokerage house, and tell them not to issue you a check with the IRA in a lump sum. You get this check, you're going to have to pay income taxes on it immediately. Instead, what you can do is stretch out the payments and therefore get all that tax deferred growth for many, many years, plus stretch out the taxes also.
So what do we do to accomplish that?
Well, if you're a single person inheriting the IRA, what you need to do is set up an inherited IRA account. You cannot roll over an IRA into your own account unless you're a surviving spouse. So if you're not the surviving spouse, contact the custodian and tell them to name the account as follows. Let's say it's John Smith, decedent, for the benefit of, and then put your name in there. That'll be an inherited IRA account.
You can't put it in your own IRA
No, if you
as
do
a
that,
child?
No, you can't do that. You'll end up paying a tremendous amount of taxes and penalties. Then
All right, so what if there are multiple benefits? What if I'm not the only beneficiary? I got 3 brothers and sisters that are also inheriting.
Okay, well, most people, what you're going to do is you're going to divide that inherited IRA into separate accounts for each beneficiary. If you don't do that, what happens is that you've got this big account, and you'll have to use the age of the age of the oldest beneficiary of that account to take payments out rather than using each individual age. That means you'll take it out faster, you'll get less tax deferred growth. Also, if you split it up, you get to control your own investments instead of having a big pool of money with all your siblings.
Is there a deadline you have to split it up by?
Yeah, it's real important. You have to make this decision by December 31 of the year after the person passes away.
So a person dies now, it's December 31 of 2012.
That's correct.
All right. When do I have to start taking money out of an inherited IRA?
Well, there's several rules. You need to take it out generally, other than the spouse. The spouse can use all sorts of other rules, roll over to her own IRA and defer payment. But if you're not a spouse, you have to take it out by December 31 of the year after the person passes away, and then you can take it out over your life expectancy. If you miss that date, you have to take it out. If the person who passed away with the IRA didn't start taking money out, then you have to take it out over a 5-year period.
And if the owner had started taking minimum distributions, so let's say the owner was 85
Right.
and died, had already started, then what?
Then you can take it out over you begin by December 31 of the year after the person passed away. You take it out over your life expectancy, but make sure that year the person passed away, you've got to make sure that distribution's been taken out. You either take it or it goes to that person's estate.
Thank you, Mike. Good information. Okay. If these rules seem complex, they are. But you have to follow them or you could lose thousands of dollars. For more information, give Mike Solomon a call.
Call Budish, Solomon, Steiner, and Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information. Or log on to www.budishandsolomon.com.
Thanks for joining us. Next week, we got all kinds of more information for you. Until then, please make the most of your golden opportunities.
Would you like to join our kitchen conversation? All you have to do is call toll-free 1-877-765-1543 and leave us your question, name, and phone number. Or log on to www.golden.tv for all the latest information and show updates.